Welcome to Recaply X, your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists. In minutes, the movie begins with a young boy named Jiashu, who suddenly finds himself surrounded by people dancing around him, confused about what's happening. Suddenly, the village chief calls upon the snake god to appear before them, and a massive snake emerges from the mountain, moving toward Jiashu. Just as the snake is about to attack him, Jiashu wakes up startled from the nightmare. He is on a boat with his uncle, who is fishing in the river. After waking up, Jiashu is terrified and asks why the area around them is filled with fog. His uncle reassures him, but when Jiashu notices they are nearing a strange island, he asks if it's the famous Python Island he's always heard about. His uncle dismisses it as mere rumors. Despite this, Jiashu is still frightened, looking around and failing to notice a giant snake passing by their boat. Eventually, Jiashu sees something in the river, while his uncle tries to pull up his fishing net to see if he caught anything. Jiashu tries to warn him, but it's too late, and his uncle gets dragged into the river. After struggling to find his way back to the boat, Jiashu's uncle insists they leave immediately and starts rowing away. Jiashu notices they are getting closer to Python Island and mentions it to his uncle, who becomes visibly scared and tries to row faster. Looking back, he realizes Jiashu is no longer on the boat. Jiashu's uncle is shocked to discover that Jiashu has disappeared and immediately jumps off the boat to search for him. Unfortunately, he doesn't get far before encountering a massive snake from the island, staring at him menacingly. Terrified, he rushes back to the boat and informs Jiashu's family that the boy is missing. Jiashu's mother is distraught because of the stories she has heard about the island, but his father and uncle decide they must go back to rescue him. Meanwhile, Jiashu is walking cautiously toward the island, curious about what he might find there. As he walks, he suddenly trips and feels something behind him. When he turns around, there's nothing there, which gives him some relief. However, before he can move again, he falls into a trap and finds himself locked inside a cage. At the same time, the village chief stops Jiashu's father and uncle from heading to the island, warning them about the deadly stories surrounding the place. He mentions that ancient tales say anyone who disturbs the island brings misfortune upon the entire village. Jiashu's father refuses to listen, insisting he won't abandon his son on the island. At this point, a man named Chao steps in, offering to help them. However, Chao has hidden motives, intending to steal rare plants from the island to sell. The old village chief tries to dissuade them again, calling it a terrible idea, but Chao mocks him, dismissing the warnings as mere superstitions. Before the old man could speak, Chao quickly took Jiashu's family and left the village, heading toward the island. When they arrived, Chao secretly told his children to search for anything valuable they might find. At that time, Jiashu's father and mother were also focused on searching for their son. One of Chao's children found some snake eggs and took them to show Chao, but Chao wasn't interested because snake eggs weren't considered valuable. Instead of wasting time, he told his children to keep searching, and after a while, Chao saw a beautiful and unique flower. Believing it might be worth a lot, he ordered one of his children to cut the flower and bring it to him. But while the child was trying to cut it, he accidentally broke the eggs, making the situation much more difficult than expected. When he tried again to cut the flower, a giant snake suddenly appeared and killed him instantly. The child screamed loudly, and Jiashu's father heard the scream from the other side of the island. However, Chao tried to reassure them, saying it was probably nothing important, but their suspicions grew. Jiashu's mother then saw one of her son's shoes lying on the ground and showed it to her husband. Suddenly, the giant snake appeared, heading toward them quickly. Her husband ran to save her, but the snake kept chasing them until they found themselves inside a dark cave. Inside the cave, everyone was scared, especially since they didn't know where they were. Jiashu's uncle noticed strange details and began to say that the cave resembled the old temple of the snake god. This terrified Jiashu's father, because ancient stories told that the snake god killed anyone who entered his temple. But Chao mocked the idea, saying those stories were just myths and that they needed to move on. At that moment, Jiashu was still trapped in his cage, which was also inside the same cave. When he heard his parents' voices, he began shouting as loudly as he could for them to rescue him. Jiashu's father was initially shocked, but when they heard their son's voice, they quickly followed it, eventually finding him inside the cage and rescuing him. Meanwhile, Chao and his other son were exploring a strange tree inside the temple, filled with skeletal remains. Chao, driven by greed, said it must be something worth a fortune. But before they could touch the tree, snakes began emerging from the holes in the skeletons. Chao tried to escape quickly, but it turned out the snakes had surrounded the entire temple. Everyone was terrified and didn't know what to do until Chao spotted a hole at the top of the cave and said they needed to climb to escape. They began climbing, but unfortunately, Chao fell during the attempt. Before the snakes could reach him, he pulled his son down with him to use him as a distraction to climb again. This left his son trapped. Although Jiashu's father could have pulled him up, they decided to save their own son instead. Before they left, Chao's son had secretly taken the snake eggs. The snakes attacked and killed him. The rest managed to escape the cave and make it outside. Jiashu's father confronted Chao, accusing him of causing everything that happened because of his greed and for provoking the snakes. But Chao tried to evade responsibility, saying they were the ones to blame for letting his son die. Chao threatened them, saying he would report them to the villagers if they didn't give him their land. Jiashu's uncle completely rejected the idea and told his brother not to give in to Chao's blackmail. Jiashu's mother also confirmed that this man was evil and would ruin their land if he took it. As Jiashu's father argued with Chao, his wife suddenly lost consciousness. Chao mocked them, saying she was pretending, but then he suddenly lost consciousness as well. Jiashu's father realized they had been poisoned by the snakes while in the temple. He decided to return to the village quickly with his brother to seek help. Back in the village, one of the villagers runs in, announcing that snakes have appeared on the shore and started attacking and killing people. The old chief is heartbroken, blaming them for ignoring his warnings and angering the snakes by disturbing the island. Jiashu's father decides to act, gathering a group of villagers to defend the village against the snakes. Jiashu stays behind with his mother, who tries to comfort him, giving him a necklace and asking him to always be kind. However, she suddenly passes away, leaving Jiashu devastated. Months later, Jiashu notices that the snake egg he had taken from Python Island has hatched, revealing a small snake. Initially frightened, Jiashu realizes the snake is harmless and decides to keep it as a pet, apologizing for disturbing the island and taking the egg. Days later, Jiashu's father sees him with the snake and, terrified, demands Jiashu hand it over so he can kill it. However, Jiashu, now attached to the snake, runs away with it to the shore. Jiashu then tries to convince the snake to return to the island to protect it from the villagers. When the villagers and Jiashu's father arrive at the shore, the small snake has already disappeared. Years pass, and Jiashu grows up to become a laboratory scientist in the city. One day, he receives a call from his uncle, who informs him that the village is facing severe problems. He explains that people who kill or eat snakes are contracting strange diseases, and no one understands why. Jiashu is shocked by this news, but promises to visit the village when he has time to help. The next day, Jiashu attends a meeting with his boss, where the boss's assistant mentions the discovery of a golden herb on Python Island, which could be the key to cell regeneration research. Jiashu is stunned to hear the island's name, knowing how dangerous it is. He is assigned as one of the scientists leading the expedition to the island. His boss also reveals that his daughter, Lily, will join the team as an assistant. A few days later, Jiashu returns to his village for the first time in years and is greeted by his uncle, who has been waiting for him. Jiashu notices the dire conditions of the villagers due to the disease caused by killing and eating snakes. His father warmly welcomes him, but Jiashu coldly ignores him, still angry about the small snake he once kept as a pet, and his father's role in killing more snakes, which led to disaster. Later, Jiashu's boss arrives in the village with her assistant, aiming to convince the villagers to allow them to go to Python Island to collect the golden herb for their research. Most of the villagers reject the idea, but Chow, who has become the village leader, says there's no problem. He mentions that he had been to the island before and survived, so there's no issue with going again. In the morning, Chow gathers Jiashu's team and heads to the shore to board the boats that will take them to the island. After some time, they reach the island. The leader's assistant becomes fascinated by the flowers on the island, suggesting there might be other unique plants there. She mentions having heard that the last tribe living on the island was known for using specific flowers to achieve immortality. As the group searches for the herbs they need, one of Chow's men spots a flower that catches his attention. He asks for Chow's permission to take it, and Chow agrees. However, as the man tries to pluck the flower, it attacks him, biting off his head as he screams. The group panics and notices other flowers attacking as well. To keep everyone safe, Jiashu instructs them to retreat to a nearby cave for shelter. Inside the cave, Lily's mother notices the golden herb they've been searching for and gets excited, telling her assistant that they've found what they came for. But as she tries to extract it, she hears a sound from deeper within the cave and is forced to leave it. Her assistant observes that the herb seems to be intricately connected to the island's ecosystem. Through his research, he concludes that there is a king of the herbs on the island. Lily's mother insists they must find this herb king and extract its genes to unlock the secret of immortality. Jiashu is shocked upon hearing this, but before he can react, the flowers attack them again. As they flee, Lily and Jiashu get separated from the rest of the group. The others arrive at the snake temple, where Lily's mother notices her daughter is missing. Before she can ask everyone to search for her, a giant snake appears in the temple and attacks them. Fortunately, they all manage to escape unharmed, leaving the snake inside the temple. Meanwhile, Jiashu sees a golden snake about to attack Lily, but instead of attacking, the snake approaches Jiashu's forehead. Jiashu is stunned, but realizes that this snake is his old pet, which he had to abandon long ago. He reassures Lily not to worry. However, when the snake hears the commotion of people nearby, it gets scared and flees the room. While wandering, Jiashu and Lily discover drawings on the cave walls. These drawings are in the language of the ancient tribe that once lived on the island. Since they had done prior research on the tribe, Jiashu manages to translate parts of the texts. The texts reveal a message from the ancient tribe, explaining how they achieved immortality. It turns out that after a meteor crashed on the island, the golden herb began to grow around it. When the tribe discovered that these plants granted immortality, they started consuming them. However, the plants transformed their bodies into half-snake, half-plant hybrids. In another part of the island, Lily's mother and her assistant come across the Herb King inside the temple. Thinking it's just a statue, Lily's mother tries to touch it, but the plant suddenly transforms into a living creature and attacks everyone in the room, forcing them to flee. Eventually, Lily and Jiashu reunite with the group. Lily is overjoyed to see her mother again and tells her that she and Jiashu encountered a golden snake. Lily's mother asks her assistant if the golden snake is connected to the herb. After confirming this, she immediately orders Chow and his men to capture the golden snake alive. Jiashu protests, knowing they will harm his pet, but he is unable to stop them. Although Chow is hesitant, he agrees to the task in exchange for a large reward. Soon, they find the golden snake and the giant snake together in an empty room within the cave. Lily tries to convince her mother to abandon the mission, saying it's too dangerous, but her mother slaps her and declares that, despite the risks, she will find a way to avoid the side effects and achieve immortality. At that moment, Chow attacks the snakes. When they attempt to shoot the golden snake, Jiashu intervenes to protect it. As the golden snake tries to escape, Jiashu is suddenly bitten by the giant snake, which he didn't realize wasn't an enemy. Before Jiashu succumbs to the venom, his father quickly saves him. Jiashu's father pleads with Chow to let them leave so Jiashu can get proper treatment, but Chow refuses. As Jiashu's father contemplates what to do, The golden snake approaches Jiashu to save him. Lily begs Chao not to harm the snake, but he is only interested in the money he'll earn and shoots the snake without hesitation. Unfortunately, the assistant reveals that the cave's entrance has been blocked by the giant snake. Chao coldly declares that he can kill it and gives his men the order to move toward the entrance. Despite being weak, Jiashu stands up to stop them from taking the golden snake. Just as Chao is about to kill the giant snake, it attacks him and his men. When the giant snake tries to attack Lily, Jiashu saves her at the last moment, and they all escape the cave. Outside, they find the golden herb. Jiashu picks the herb and keeps it hidden so Lily's mother won't find it. With the giant snake trapped, Chao and his men take the golden snake outside. Lily's mother complains about her inability to run due to her age, and her assistant suggests that drinking the snake's bile could make her eternally youthful. When Chao hears this, he pulls out a knife to kill the snake and extract its bile, but Jiashu quickly intervenes. Unfortunately, Jiashu loses the fight, but before Chao can kill the snake bites him. As Chao begins to die, he begs for help. Jiashu remembers his mother's advice to be kind, so he decides to help Chao by letting him eat part of the golden herb. Miraculously, the herb makes Chao much stronger. Instead of being grateful, Chao attacks Jiashu again. Jiashu's father and uncle try to stop Chao, but he overpowers them as well. The snake tried to attack Chao and squeeze him with its body, but Chao bit it, which made the snake very weak. After that, Chao began to experience strange symptoms. His body became unstable, and he started transforming oddly. At that moment, Jiashu remembered the part he couldn't translate from the language on the wall, which revealed that the ancient tribe members eventually died when they mixed the golden herb with the snake's blood. Since Chao had accidentally mixed the snake's blood with the golden herb, Jiashu realized he might die like the ancient tribe members. Before anything happened to him, Chao confessed that he was the one responsible for spreading the plague in the village because he wanted the villagers to remain under his control. Jiashu was deeply shocked upon learning the truth, but before he could process it, Chao attacked him. Jiashu's father quickly intervened to protect his son, but Chao stabbed and killed him. This completely devastated Jiashu, but he couldn't stop Chao, who continued trying to attack the others. Suddenly, Chao's face began reacting strangely to the golden herb. When he realized he had been deceived about the herb's effects, he attacked Lily's mother's assistant. The assistant confessed at the last moment that he had tricked Lily's mother because he wanted to blackmail her. Chao became furious and killed him. Afterward, Chao tried to attack Jiashu again. Lily's mother attempted to take her daughter and flee, but Lily refused to leave Jiashu alone. At the moment when Chao was about to strike Jiashu, Lily shot an arrow at him, but unfortunately, she missed her target. Before Lily could reload her weapon, Chao shot Jiashu, and he fell to the ground. Lily ran to him and began pressing on his chest while crying. Suddenly, Jiashu opened his eyes and discovered that the bullet hadn't penetrated his body because it had hit the necklace his mother had given him before her death. After Jiashu stood up with Lily, Chao's uncle tried to shoot him again, but before he could do anything, the giant snake attacked and devoured him, falling to the ground with great force, causing a tremor that brought down many trees in the surrounding area. Fortunately, the golden snake helped Jiashu and the others by clearing a path for them to escape. When they reached the shore, Jiashu noticed that the golden snake had become very weak. He still had some golden herb left and decided to give it to the snake. However, Lily's mother begged him to give her the herb instead, claiming she needed it to produce medicine that could revive her company and help her pay off her debts. Lily rejected her mother's plea, telling her she couldn't be so selfish. Jiashu also refused to give her the herb, believing the snake needed it more. He fed the golden herb to the snake, which regained its strength. They returned to the village with the determination to cure the plague and prevent the villagers from killing snakes forever. And here the movie ends. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an update.